all the stuff that I got to read. Okay. All righty. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'd like to call this meeting of the Kitsap County Parks Advisory Board to order. Piece of administrative stuff first here. Oops. Piece of administrative stuff is be smarter than your computer. There. Okay, good evening, and thank you for participating in our remote regular monthly meeting of the Parks Advisory Board. We will do our best to facilitate a smooth meeting with public participation and ask that everyone be patient as we navigate this electronic platform. We have two formats for participation, the Zoom web application as well as teleconference. Before we begin, I will want to review some guidelines and general instructions for the meeting. Please silence all your other communication devices, such as your cell or desk phone. This will ensure that we are not hearing any feedback or causing interruption during the meeting. During the meeting, all participants on Zoom, except for board members and county staff, will be placed on mute by the host. That means that you will not be able to mute or unmute your lines manually. The chair will announce opportunities for public comment, which are included in the meeting agenda. For those on Zoom, if you would like to make public comment, please click the raise hand feature to signal that you would like to comment. The sound will be unmuted and the internet participant should announce their first and last name before speaking. The participant will be called upon to speak at the appropriate time. For those calling in using the phone line only, if you would like to make public comment, please dial *9 on your keypad to signal that you would like to comment. The last four digits of the call-in number will be announced, and call-in participants should announce their first and last name before speaking. The participant will be called upon to speak at the appropriate time. Please note, you can hang up or leave the Zoom meeting at any time. So we've got our welcome down for everybody, and the first thing on the agenda, of course, is the introduction. So who wants to go first? Board members first, please.
Lisa Herb, North Kitsap.
Linda Berry Mare, North Kitsap.
Nancy Whitaker, Central Kitsap.
Amy Lawrence, Central Kitsap.
Amy Smalley, South Kitsap.
Of course, I'm Larry Walker, South Kitsap. Okay, let's start with the big guy, Alex, and let's introduce our staff personnel.
Hey, folks, thanks for the switch to Zoom only tonight. Appreciate it, and apologies for the heat-related challenges we have at the Eagles Nest here. My name's Alex Wisniewski. I'm the director for Kitsap County Parks.
Good evening. I'm Alex Hardy, the marketing and event supervisor.
All right, thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is the adoption of the June 26th meeting minutes. Do I hear any changes necessary, or do I hear a motion to adopt?
I'll make a motion to adopt the minutes of June 26th, 2024.
Thank you, Linda. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Okay, those opposed? The ayes have it. We do have minutes. So next agenda item is public comments. Do we have anybody from the public here to comment? Go ahead.
Have a public comment from Mara Louise, and I am allowing them to talk. And go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, Mara.
Hi. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. I know I have 3 minutes, and I'm going to set a timer so I don't go over. I want to thank you all for everything that you do. I'm calling in about How Farm Dog Park. We love the dog park here in Port Orchard. I've been a Port Orchard resident for the last 16 years, and it's just an incredible resource for the community. Made so many friends there. Can't believe how fortunate we are to have such a dog park. It's really unequaled. And I just wanted to thank everybody who participates and volunteers. I feel like I've been a bit of a free rider until now because I've just been enjoying it. So thank you very much. The reason I wanted to chime in is just so happened I was looking on your website and saw that there was a public meeting. An entity that I wasn't aware of came to my attention recently called Dog Park Inc., who apparently has a contract with Kitsap County to handle certain maintenance issues at How Farm Dog Park. While the facility is certainly well maintained, recent events have come to my attention that suggest to me that there's a little ambiguity as to who these individuals from Dog Park Inc. are, what their role is, what their authority is, and what code of conduct the county and the taxpayers expect of them. I am specifically a recent instance aware of an individual holding themselves out as an employee of Kitsap County. I must say, I don't know if this individual was a Dog Park Inc. individual or just a random individual. I'm 100% convinced that there's an investigation, somebody will get to the bottom of it. But I'm concerned that as the users of the dog park, which me and everybody else, that we understand who these individuals are. The incident I'm aware of is somebody holding themselves out again to be an employee of Kitsap County. And I certainly hope this was a one-off and a misunderstanding, but it shouldn't have happened. And I don't think it should be allowed to happen again. The town is growing. Kitsap County is getting bigger, and Port Orchard is certainly getting bigger. So we're going to have some growing pains. But I think that this incident, while it should be investigated, I'd also propose that the Parks Department undertake a study of the issues that I've raised, hold a public meeting to solicit input from the public on the issues that I've raised. The meaning, how Dog Park Inc. Individuals are vested with authority, who they act on behalf of, what their powers are, so that we can all just be clear, so that there aren't any further misunderstandings along those lines. Again, I want to thank you all for your time and for all of your dedicated public service. And my timer says I'm done.
Thank you very much, Mara Louise. Appreciate that. Alex, did you want to say anything about that now, or are you just going to take that for action?
I'm aware of the situation, received a phone call from Mara earlier and had other context. It is a situation we're looking into, so I don't have details to share beyond that, but appreciate showing up, Mara. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We
Do
do
we have
have,
any?
we do
Dee,
have-
just tell me when I can speak, okay?
apologies.
Oh no, go for it.
We do have another public comment, and that is from Beverly Parsons. Beverly, I am allowing you to talk. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. I'm Beverly Parsons from Hansville. I have 3 points I'd like to make. The first one is last month I had asked that the draft Port Gamble Forest Heritage Park Master Plan be removed from the Parks Project website because it had not been approved through the legally requested or required processes. And I see that that has been done, so thank you. However, the 4 links in the text that is in there now to take you to the draft master plan aren't working properly. Interesting, all those links with that label take you to a Port Gamble mountain biking link, and even that doesn't work. It also takes you an option of something in Chicago. So I don't know what was mixed up. Maybe something with my computer, but it was a little strange. Second point, I also had asked last month that something be posted about what the next steps are for work related to the Port Gamble Park. From what I've been learning since that meeting, there seems to be considerable confusion among various parties about agreements made between the county and OPG/Radiant. I hope you can provide clarity soon about what are actual firm legal agreements and what are not. And then my third point, I would like to know if, when, and how the Parks Advisory Board will have conversations about the implications of the county commissioner's selection of a preferred land use alternative. They basically selected alternative 2, which is about concentration in urban areas and emphasis there. And that was alternative 2 of those that were proposed related to the comp plan update. So by selecting alternative 2, it's really meaningless if it doesn't also reject alternative 1, which is business as usual, and alternative 3, which is about housing and commercial spread into rural areas. It seems that some decisions that may have been made in the past related to park, which would have been alternative 1, need to be reconsidered and reevaluated in light of the preferred alternative 2. So decisions made in the past may need to be reconsidered given the changing conditions. This is, as you well know, is the very purpose of a comprehensive plan update. So I hope you can provide the public with information soon on how you are doing this, of how you are really investigating the implications of the preferred land use alternative 2. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Any other public comments?
There are no other public hands raised.
Very well, then we shall move on back onto our agenda that special presentations and reports, staff introductions. This is Alex's show.
Yeah, thanks, Larry. And thanks everyone for being here. Want to take an opportunity before we move into the heart of the agenda to introduce the newest member of Kitsap County Parks. And she is with us on Zoom today. Bree Gagne is hired as our new Parks M&O supervisor. Bree and I have had the luxury of having our work lives overlap at a couple different locations in our past. And we're lucky enough to align our paths here at Kitsap County as well. And want to invite Bree to give a little bit of an introduction about herself, her background experiences. Yeah, please just welcome me having Bree here. I'm super excited. And Bree, I know you've given this speech probably more times than you care to do with other meet and greets, but appreciate you being here this evening.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Bree Gagne. I come from Eastern Washington originally. I went to Evergreen State College, worked for their facilities department. They have a student-run housing facilities department. Got some good facilities experience there, leading student teams. Worked for the Bainbridge Island Park District after that for about 12 or 13 years. Worked up from a seasonal worker through lead and eventually to the horticulture manager. And I did that for a number of years before I took a position at the City of Port Townsend Parks Department. And I worked there for the last 7 years. I am a highly collaborative leader. I really want to engage staff. I've been at all levels of staff, and so far the work culture here and the staff that I've interacted with, nearly all of them have been incredibly welcoming and supportive. The agency's been really supportive, and I'm just really excited to be on the team now. I live in Poulsbo with my family. And yeah, we use the parks, and now we know way more of them than we used to. So we're headed down to the south to hit up some of those beaches and lakes and stuff this weekend. So That's me.
Thanks, Bree. Any questions from the board? To Bree?
Welcome. We're really glad to have you on board.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'll second that emotion. Welcome aboard. When I'm a little bit more mobile and everything, we'll have to go take a look at some of the stuff in the South.
All right. Sounds good.
Larry, do you want me to launch into the next item?
Oh, absolutely. Go for it, Alex.
Okay. All right. So we are fully entrenched into what we call, or what I call, budget season here in Kitsap County. This is across all departments as we are pulling our operational budgets together for the next year, for the next fiscal year, which for us follows the same calendar year, 2025. This is the typical time frame where in July and early August we are doing a lot of our number crunching and getting our budgets proposed, and then they get submitted to the budget office in early August. The budget office compiles all department requests together. They do a review. They will come back to the departments for ongoing conversation, make edits, and eventually those make their way forward to the commissioners for their review and ultimate approval. Generally that happens in December after the capital projects budgets have been put together. That happens in November. Little bit more involved this year in terms of me pulling in the Parks Advisory Board kind of into the process than what we've done in the past. Earlier, about a month ago, month and a half maybe, pulled together the subcommittee for the Parks Advisory Board, not to go through the dollars and cents of everything, and that's not really what I'm going to go through tonight, but more about the kind of first step in understanding the structure of our budget. And this is taking a look at the different funds and accounts as to how the Parks Department is structured, where those dollars and cents come from, and how we structure ourselves and how we plan to use those fundings for our operations on an annual basis. I'm going to walk through. I've got well, you guys have already seen it in your packet, but I've got the PowerPoint that I'll walk through and kind of give some explanation behind the pictures. But I had mentioned in the last meeting that on July 8th is when the official call to budget comes out from the budget office. That comes to us in the form of a letter and basically provides guidance to all the different departments about how we should be working on pulling our budget numbers together. There's a couple items in here I wanted to call out just to provide some kind of parameters on the flexibility and the leeway that we're given within this. And for this year, it is basically no flexibility. And basically what we've been told is, and this is kind of a quote, a status quo budget submission with no additional requests for funding. New staffing is recommended by the budget office. So those are pretty much the constraints that we are operating within. I think we all know on the screen here that the department, based on the number of parks that we have, the development of the parks, the number of acres that we manage, we are out of balance in terms of our staffing, our budget, and our resources to manage our park system. So, seeing this is, challenging. We would love to, ask for the moon and additional staff in order to help fill the gaps where we struggle to maintain facilities, to improve facilities, and to provide services. But they mention in here somewhere, I can't find it right this second, but basically Kitsap County has operated in a status quo budget for at least the last 10 years. So think about that kind of in context with the growth that the Parks Department has gone through and continues to go through in terms of adding additional properties, adding additional acreage, adding additional trail mileage and facilities. Those two things don't line up very well, and it does cause some resource challenges when we are talking about demands from the community, expectations, and positions us in a sometimes challenging situation. Nonetheless, the whole story is not all sad and tears here. I don't mean to be to do that. We do have a fantastic team. We are very efficient with the labor, the resources, the staffing that we have. And we do a lot of good work. We have a fantastic volunteer program that helps out a lot with invasive, non-native vegetation removal, tree planting, trail maintenance are the three primary categories. And so we make do as best we can, but really just wanted to kind of initiate this so that you understand from the get-go that, no new staffing and status quo budget. And within that, and we will are pulling together our projected expenditure needs for 2025, both in terms of those recurring expenses that, utilities based and so forth that don't change, as well as, targeting what are our projects, what are our work plans for 2025 and those expenses associated with those. And then we start to populate our budget with those dollars and cents. But before we even get to that, I really wanted to just share with you all the organization or the structure of our various budget funds. And so I'm going to share my screen. Give me just a moment. All right. Can everybody see the big blue and white screen?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So there's kind of two parts to what I would like to share with you today. There is the budget structure that shows the different funds that are set up that we draw from. It identifies the revenues that go into this and the expenses that we program in there and draw from. And that is kind of the budget use details component. So those two things. Okay, so within the context of the Parks Department, we have three different funding categories. We have what we get from the county's general fund, and the general fund is basically a rather large pot of money, though limited in growth by state of Washington RCWs that only allow it to grow at 1% each year. And revenues that come into this also help facilitate budgets to other departments. So we aren't the only ones that draw on this pot of funds. We also have special revenue accounts, and we'll get into what these are, but there's a variety of these that are in our operations. These generally are all associated with leases or contracts and or the retention annually that we've talked about in the past, where we're able to retain 20% of the revenue that we generate from our events and facility rental program. And then the third category is our capital funding. The capital budget is the large dollars that we invest into the acquisition of new land, and or the development of new parks, whether those are recreation facilities or other type of improvements. Those are they have two different functions. We utilize the general fund and the special revenue accounts for our annual operations. And then the capital funds are not for our operations, but are for specific project by project based improvements or acquisitions. And please, as we go along, if you have questions, please, and I'm just going to say, stop me and shout them out, because I've got 3 screens going, so it's going to be a little hard to see a hand get raised. Maybe others can do that. And actually, Dawn, I see your hand raised. I'm actually paying attention, so go for it.
I had a question. After a recent conversation with one of the commissioners, I was told that our special revenues, so this was their understanding. So our special revenues, we get our 20% back that we can keep, I guess is what I should say, is that we can keep. That 80% commented that it all comes back to us through the general fund. But, you know, I'm kind of thinking about that, thinking how much of that monies that we get from the general fund could you say would be accounted for with that 80%? And then is that an expectation that Parks funds itself? And I'm not asking for a question. It's more of an observation that I had made when I was talking with her about some things, and just started wondering about how much we're really getting versus how much is Parks funding itself.
Sure.
Because I don't know dollars or cents.
Yeah, and I don't have the dollars and cents called out in this. My intentions are to kind of show today the overall structure of things, and then to come back to the Parks Advisory Board. And my gut's telling me probably in September-ish, and I will reflect back on the budget development, and I will have dollars and cents at that point. But we're still developing it, so I don't really have all of that, but I can share that information at that time. In between now and then, I'll also be calling the subcommittee back together as well for input and review as we work on the budget development. But with regards to your comment about the 80% of the revenue that is generated by the events program, that 80% goes back into the general fund. So it is a contributor as a revenue source into the county's general fund, which then gets added in and then redistributed, you know, across the different departments for ongoing operations. I don't think it's tracked specifically to say our revenue comes back to our department. It really is just one of many contributors back into a larger pot of funding, but it is cyclical in what you're talking about, in that, well, then we're funded by the general fund in the end. So it does kind of come around. I will say what the county does not have is we do not have revenue expectations for our departments, or cost recovery kind of demands on the department for our events and facilities. And so we are more treated as a public service with our events than we are kind of running it as a business where we have to meet a certain bottom line every year. That type of guidance or rule does not exist. So hopefully that helps a little bit. It is a little squishy, but very good comment. Okay. Moving on. This slide here represents the same 3 categories, our general fund, our special revenue, and our capital. And then underneath those are these different accounts, or the county calls them programs. And these help take the total pot of the general fund that comes to the Parks Department and help subdivide it into smaller pots of money that help facilitate the operations of our different programs. And then the same thing, the special revenue is a little bit different. It's not really subdivided by operations. It's more subdivided by these program areas about the specific operation that it is supporting or the contract that it is based on. You see the first one, 1331, is the county fair. This is a remnant from when the Parks Department used to facilitate and put on the county fair. This was the county fair event program or account that was created for all the revenue coming in from the fair went into this account. So they have a little bit of differences, and I'll get into some of that explanation a little bit further into this.
What is ETIX, Alex?
So ETIX is an old program that was utilized in the past when ticket sales were being done for entrance to the county fair, as well as it was a ticket sales program that the past events team used to offer to other events coming in. So if an event wanted to, like the dog show, wanted to come in, rent the pavilion, and they wanted to sell tickets as an entrance into their event, we could provide that service through ETIX. And through that process, we would get a revenue cut, I guess.
Wow.
It's not a program that's been in operation since I got hired, since I've been here. It's not one that we typically use anymore because technology has advanced so much. People don't need physical tickets. They do everything electronically now. So event hosts, if they want to do entrance tickets, they can do it on their own.
Okay.
Linda, I see your hands up.
I was wondering if you could give us a little bit more information about the vacation lease and income from Point No Point. I mean, I was up there a couple times recently, and it's got such an awesome location. I just wonder what kind of revenue it brings to the Parks Department.
Not a ton. So this is one as an example that it's an account based on a contract. And so we have a lease and a contract with the U.S. Lighthouse Society at Point No Point Park. And there are two functions to what the Lighthouse Society does. The Lighthouse Society, this is their national headquarters for the organization. The Lighthouse Society is a nonprofit that raises money and supports lighthouses primarily across the U.S., but they also do it around the world. And they raise funds to reinvest into these facilities to restore them. They did a ton of work in their history to restore the lighthouse at Point No Point as an example. So this is their national headquarters for that operation. The other part of their operations is there are two facilities there. There's the duplex, which their offices are on one half, and the other half is a vacation rental that people can rent and go and stay there, like an Airbnb or a VRBO. And then there is also a house that is at the end of the parking lot that is called Mag's House, and that one is also a vacation rental. The Lighthouse Society, under contract for us, is to manage those as vacation rentals. They, in turn, cover their costs for the program. They take a nominal fee for it, and then the county gets the remainder of the revenue that is generated from those rentals. And those revenues coming in from the lease for U.S. Lighthouse having their offices there and the vacation rentals go into 1551. The amount is reserved so that it can go back into facilitating maintenance of the grounds in the facility.
So the money goes back into that park?
Yes.
Okay.
We also use general fund dollars for maintenance of the grounds of the parks, but we retain the money more to go back into the buildings.
So it basically pays for itself?
We have a bit of a surplus in 1551, but it's there if we have, the need for improvements to the buildings. We have a water leak or something needs to be fixed, the roof needs to be replaced. We probably don't have enough for all of that, but we would, probably look to partner with the Lighthouse Society to raise funds. We can contribute some money and we can have a, small pot of money to help maintain the historic lighthouse and surrounding buildings. Amy?
Yeah, I'm wondering about brush harvesting. What is that and where does that happen?
So brush harvesting is another one that is under contract. This is, we currently have 2 contracts for brush harvesting. This happens at a variety of different parks. And this is, oh man, it's been a while since I looked at these, but it is Salau and there's another plant in there, and I am sorry, the name of it's failing me right now.
Oregon grape.
No, it's not Oregon grape. It is a berry type plant, but I can't.
Are you talking about huckleberry?
Yeah, it might be huckleberry, yeah. So
Yeah, those-
anyway, we have contracts with Continental Flora. That is a local company here. They're based out near the airport. And there's another, I can't remember the name of the other contractor, but we have another contract, and they basically are allowed to go into the specific parks that are identified in the contract and do brush harvesting for the 2 specific types of plants that they're allowed to.
Alex,
Sorry, yes.
Salau and huckleberry.
Thank you. And the department generates revenue from that contract that goes into this program budget and then gets reserved. And you will see later, we actually utilize these funds to help support the operations of our natural resource division. Historically, we've used the funds coming in from the brush harvesting to support the volunteer program, our work parties, work plans for the various volunteer stewardship groups, help support the volunteer recognition event and volunteer trainings, that type of thing. So that's how we utilize it. And I do get into some of that detail a little bit later.
Great, thanks.
Nancy?
Right? I kept trying to raise my hand and it kept going. Anyway, I was just going to say, for those that are not familiar, Salau and huckleberry are used by florists. And there's actually a very large warehouse in Belfair that buys these products. It's a wholesale florist place. So just FYI.
Thanks. Okay, so diving into general fund here. So I will take each of the 3 categories one at a time and walk through kind of how our budget is set up. Within the general fund, as I mentioned, we have all those different program areas and they're represented by different numbers and then the program names, which you will also reflect that on the director's report, we are organized by these different program areas for our updates. That is intentional. Sorry, here's just some nomenclature. The 950X is in the finance world is the fund. And then within the construct of that, you have all these different sub-accounts or these programs. That is just sharing the finance language that the county uses. The budget structure, we did some edits to this general fund budget structure back in 2021 and 2022. And that was to align it with the changes in our operations. So if you'll recall, we went through some department restructuring in 21 and 22 also, and we ended up with this current organizational structure. And this is what I call the programmatic organizational chart for the department. And again, you will see it is each of these program areas: administration, marketing and events, maintenance and operations, capital, and so forth. And so what we've done is align the budget so that they match these areas so we can track our budget programmatically. In the past, when I first got here, the budget was set up differently. It was set up more on a geographic basis than a program operation. And so there was a lot of crossover, and it was kind of confusing to understand what the cost of these different programs were and be able to track things. So we changed the general fund to match the way that we were operating. So in the end, we could track things much easier. So what are all of these different program areas? And this is fairly logical, but just kind of quickly walking through this, 9500, our administration program, has 4 FTEs in it, and funds kind of at-large department costs that are kind of the umbrella over all of the other individual, more focused operations. And actually, one thing I want to jump back to is you will notice here we have an outlier, 9502, also drawing attention to a remnant from the historic budget structure. 9502 was a special account that was previously set up to help facilitate the expense side of the county fair as an event. Since we no longer put on the county fair as an event, the Kitsap Fair and Stampede Association do that now. This account, or this budget, this program, sorry, we don't use anymore, but it's still lingering. We are talking with the auditor's office to either cancel it or reprogram it in a different way, but we've not landed on exactly what we're doing just yet, but it still lingers. So within this, we don't have any FTEs associated with the fair as an event. And then this kind of goes through each different program area. Capital projects program, 1 FTE, plus all the supplies and materials, et cetera, that would need to be those direct expenses associated with each of these different program areas. The kind of a way to think about the direct versus indirect are the direct expenses. If you were to say, you know, the planning program, if it all of a sudden got canceled and went away, well, what are all of those expenses that are directly associated with that would also go away? Those are the type of expenses that we would program and budget into 9507. Those indirect that are help support 9507, but also support other areas, those expenses would live in 9500. Hope that helps try and make some clarity between how we set these up a little bit differently. Moving on to special revenue. So general fund is in terms of its structure is pretty basic. And the special revenue is a little funkier because it's not fully linked with how we operate. It is linked with contracts and kind of some historic operational programs that some exist still, some don't. So it's a little bit odder, but we'll walk through this. Again, this is snapshot in time. So within special revenue, we have again, the county fair fund. We have a 150X. So again, hearkening back to the nomenclature on the general fund. The 150 is the fund, and then we have these various different programs that feed into this larger pot of money. 1551 is associated with the lease and contract, and then 1721 is the, as you know, the special account that was set up for the forest stewardship program, the selective thinning. So what are each of these and where does the funding source come from and how are we using them? So 1331, again, this is an old account where revenue came in from operations of the county fair, ticket sales, parking, vendor contracts, etc. And then expenses went back out for operations of the county fair also. Today, even though we're not operating the county fair, there still exists a small balance within this 1331 fund. I think we have about $12,000 left in there, and we are using that as a support fund to help the Kitsap Fair and Stampede Association put on the county fair as an event. And so we have a really good working relationship with them. And they have a really cool event that they do that's called Super Saturday. It is happens the Saturday 1 or 2 weeks before the county fair. And that's where they get all of their 4-H kids and their volunteers to come to the fairgrounds. And they each go to the barns that they work in, and they do maintenance to prep those buildings for the upcoming event. We help support that event by buying supplies and tools that they then use for the maintenance. So it's cleaning supplies, it's paint for painting the barns or the livestock stalls, kind of those type of expenses. And we draw from 1331 as a way to continue the county and the department's support towards the fair as an event. It only accounts to, a couple $1,000s a year, but it's a good way for us to take revenue earned from the event and reinvest into the event while, we're still getting maintenance on our facilities too. So there's kind of a dual benefit there. 1501 is the largest of our special revenue accounts. This is the one that requires the greatest amount of detail, and there is an extra slide after this that I'll jump into. But this one is primarily populated with the retention of 20% of revenue coming in from our events program and our rentals, as well as our lease agreements. We have a variety of lease agreements throughout our park system. For example, we have 2 cell towers at the fairgrounds. That brings in approximately $50,000 a year between the 2 contracts combined. Those dollars go into this 1501 account that allows us to then draw on that as part of our maintenance and operations for our ongoing parks and upkeep. 1502 is an account that exists and dedicated for the Village Greens Golf Course. For those who aren't aware, Village Greens is a golf course. It's an 18-hole course in Port Orchard. The county, very similar to the Parks Department, having previously operated the county fair. We also previously operated Village Greens Golf Course with county staff. We don't do that any longer. We currently contract that out via a lease agreement with a third-party professional operator. However, this account was used when the department facilitated the golf course operations for the revenue and the expenses coming out, really tracking those direct revenue and expenses associated with the course. Talked about the brush harvesting. And when we get to slide 14, it really kind of details out at a high-ish level kind of what the revenue goes towards, how we spend it today. 1505 is that ETICS program that is kind of defunct at this point. We don't really use it, but again, snapshot in time, it still exists. We haven't done anything with it, so still just representing it on the screen. 1551 is that special lease agreement with the Lighthouse Society. And then 1721 is the revenue coming in and expenses going out for the thinning program for our forest stewardship program. So 1501 is a big monster. There's a lot built into this, and when I first got here, there wasn't any definition as to how this account was being utilized and expended. And so we took some effort earlier this year to take a look at our operations, evaluate the 1501 account, the money coming in, the expenses that have been going out historically, and to kind of do some reorganization to move some expenses over to 1501 that actually helps us free up expense or funding availability in our general fund accounts. Those specifically are maintenance to our athletic fields and our event facilities, the first two items on here. In the process, and so historically, well, when I say historically, I guess let me pull back on that. Since I got here in 2021, we have been using the general fund maintenance budget to help facilitate the maintenance and upkeep of our athletic fields and our event facilities. And it was a large impact on our general fund operating budget for maintenance and operations. And it really restricted its use in other areas beyond those two categories. And so what we were looking to do was to say, hey, as part of this evaluation of 1501, if we were to, slide some of our expenses over into 1501, which there's some logic here in that revenue from athletic field rentals, from picnic shelter rentals, from community rentals, from all of our event venues comes into this. If we slide the expenses over there, it frees up general fund money to then be reallocated into other areas of need where we've not been able to financially support as well in the past. And so this is some new structure to the 1501 account to help us define and help us program how we intend to use the fund on an ongoing basis. We also use it for updating our event support equipment. Again, event money coming into this. We use it for maintenance and repair of a whole slew of things, as well as the purchase of new equipment. In the past few years, we've purchased new floor cleaners, a new Zamboni floor cleaner for the pavilion, new pipe and drape materials. We'll be replacing the curtains in the pavilion later this year, upgraded our electric distribution cords and spider boxes to help facilitate events, etc. A whole bunch of stuff. Helping retain money for our memorial program. So the memorial program is, we have a memorial bench program where families can basically purchase a bench plus add a bit more money to that to help us create a pot of money that we can draw on for maintenance of that bench over a period of time. This helps us identify, well, where are we tracking those dollars for that special program so that, again, we're trying not to impact the general fund too much. Fair support. You will know just a little bit ago, I talked about how we support the Super Saturday event with the 1331 account. Well, eventually that 1331 account will expire. We will draw it down and we will no longer have funding in there because we're not putting on the fair anymore. When that happens, we will look to continue that partnership with the Fair and Stampede Association, and we have identified that we will draw those a couple $1,000s a year out of the 1501 account. And then additionally here, emergency repairs. So those unexpected repairs that happen to the department that we didn't plan for, and therefore especially don't have those in our general fund. Where can we tap into resources? This is a place. As an example, earlier this year in was it January, we had that freeze spell that happened. We had water leaks across the fairgrounds here. We had water leaks in the Van Z building. We had a water leak in between the upstairs and downstairs here in the Eagle's Nest that flooded into the building that we had to do a bunch of repairs to. We drew on the 1501 accounts to help facilitate those emergency repairs. And then we have also identified this as a potential funding source for special projects moving forward, purchasing equipment and vehicles, and possibly for expanding our ability with bringing on seasonal staff and or hiring trails crews or WCC crews in the future for special projects. We don't have that capacity in the general fund, but here is a way that we can help identify funding sources to achieve those projects. Questions on any of that? There was a lot all at once, and happy to keep going, but just want to pause for a second. All right. So the question, or in the next few slides, what I want to show is, it's great. We have all these accounts, but now I want to show how we are linking those up to the different program areas. And so when you see natural resources here, this is not the general fund natural resources. This is our operational program. And then these are the different budgetary accounts that we draw from to collectively pull together revenue that we then expend from for the operations of our natural resources department or division within the parks here. And so we have funding from the general fund coming in. We have funding from 1501 available to draw from for things like equipment purchases, hiring crews for trail projects, or we are also looking to draw from 1501. At the last meeting, Irene mentioned we're exploring hiring CCC crews to come in and do a big invasive removal project of Scotch broom in Port Gamble. This is that fund that we would draw on for that expense. The brush harvesting, I mentioned, this revenue from this contract feeds into our volunteer program, which is primarily focused on natural resources. And then the forestry program kind of functions individually, but its operations is part of the natural resources program. So a little bit more of a detailed look at that's great that we've got these, but now how are we utilizing these within the context of natural resources operations? And this is, not hyper specific, but does kind of get to how we're programming dollars and cents into these different areas and what we are targeting their expenditures to be for. So you'll see in 9506, this is our general fund account. This is where we have 3 FTEs tied to. These are the 3 natural resource coordinators. And then we utilize the general fund for, our tools and supplies that, again, are direct supports to the natural resources program. And then you'll see an interesting caveat that we added here in terms of the next 3 accounts, the 1501, 1504, and a portion of the 1721. Parks facilities maintenance, it does intended to do these things and support the direct function of the natural resources program. that cannot be afforded out of the general fund. So our initial target is always to utilize funding from the general fund to help support our operations of our different program areas. Where we still have needs above and beyond what we're able to get from the county's general fund, that's where we look to these alternate funding sources to help supplement where we are lacking funding from the general fund to facilitate operations of the department. And then these various bullet points help to identify what those what those targeted expenses, those supplemental expenses might be for. And then the 1721, all direct expenses related to the function of the forestry program. And if there is additional funding there, we're identifying that it can then be used also to help support ongoing operations of the natural resources program at large. And so as an example, we're currently utilizing it to fund 2 FTEs. This would be the forester, which would be a direct expense to the forestry program. So obviously that is going to live here no matter what. And then the other expense is the program supervisor. So Irene's position is also funded out of 1721 because we had the surplus, we had the available funding in 1721 to create that position because we did not have it and we're not getting the increase from the county's general fund to help create that position, but the position was critical and needed to help the department evolve and move along the natural resources program. So that's why we put it there. It is not our idea to keep it there long term. We'd like to move that into the general fund, but it may take a couple of years to get it there. But that's kind of long-term planning.
I have a question, Alex.
Sure.
On the forestry program, could you be a little bit more specific about what all that funding? Do those funds only go back into the rethinning program, or do they also go into, say, trail maintenance or other items?
So the way that we have defined this in the way that we're programming our budget today is it can go into both. So it does cover 100% of all the direct expenses related to the operations of the forestry program. And it is also a funding source available if we have the need to tap into it to help support the natural resources program operations. And right now, really the only way that we're doing that currently is through the staffing of Irene's position currently. So does that help?
Yes, it does. And so if there's expenses through like the forestry stewardship program training or tree planting and stuff like that, does that come out of that fund then also or elsewhere?
So currently all of those funds, because the stewardship programs are part of our bigger volunteer program, those are linked with the 1504 account here. And whoops. And so those expenses come out of the volunteer program. And sorry, there was a second part of your comment that
I think you've answered it. That was
okay.
great.
Okay. Linda, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I know we had previously discussed, the hope that Irene's position could be moved to either maybe being funded by the retaining a larger percentage of the rentals fees, the incoming fees. Do you know, roughly, right now we only get to retain 20%. Would it have to move to 40% or 30%, or what kind of percentage increase would be enough to move the funding of that natural resource director position out of under forestry and elsewhere?
I don't have the exact percentage, but that's part of the evaluation that we're doing of this. And the commissioners are aware, and part of the conversation. I mean, Commissioner Rolfus, even this morning in our briefing, made a comment about, geez, it would be nice if parks could retain 100% of the revenue coming in from the events program to help fund the department. So that is certainly I will say, Linda, that did not go unnoticed, that comment, and we'll be looking to further that conversation to see, what it would take to, amend the 20% to possibly something larger, and then detail out how we would then utilize those funds if we were to see an increase. And moving Irene's position off of 1721 and getting it into the general fund is one of our top priorities.
And I don't know what scale the revenue is from brush harvesting. Is it potentially, a backup for providing some revenue? I would think that the brush harvesting is less of a long-term impact than the tree harvesting. And, I'm in general, wary of having to have staff, harvest the trees in order to pay for their salaries. Though I certainly understand the reality of that with the forestry program. And we did buy a lot of land that has been, timberland. But, I'm just wondering if brush harvesting, what kind of scale of revenue that produces.
There's a couple things in there I want to touch on, but it's the brush harvesting contract is relatively small dollars. It historically was about $30,000 in a year of revenue generated that came in, that was then turned around and used to help fund the work plans from the stewardship groups and the volunteer program at large. This year, because before Arno left, when he did the RFP, we ended up getting 2 responses back to that in different areas of the park system. There's 2 different contracts in there, and together I believe they total about 50,000. So we're a little bit more than where we've been historically, but it's still not a significant enough that we could draw on it for staffing. And very similar to relying or leaning on, the need to bring in revenue through the forest thinning program to help fund staff. I also really wouldn't want to do that on the 1504, the brush harvesting contract. That's not really, our intent here. I have more ease of utilizing revenue coming in from brush harvesting to help go into our annual operations of those natural areas where the brush harvesting is happening. I feel like there's a kind of a natural synergy there. Whereas the 1721, the purpose, the defined purpose of that program is not to, be a revenue generator to help offset operations of the department. It just so happens that is where we have funding currently that allowed us to take a step forward with some staff growth and create this needed new position. But as prices fluctuate, the market is unpredictable, and we do need to pull that staff member off of there because, even though we have, we are relying on revenue from there, it is not the intention of the program. I mean, as an example, we are basically making $0 in the program in 2024. That is kind of intentional that we facilitated the remaining permits that Arno had put in place before he retired. And we are doing a large evaluation with new staff on board with Kevin Cedar here and Irene Weber, taking a look at the larger scale of the program itself, and figuring out, long term, what is our path forward? What does this look like? both from an ecological sustainability perspective as well as the financial component, and trying to, weigh this out, the future of the program. And we are basically pausing the program in 2024 so that we can do this deep dive into the system itself. So more to come on that. Kevin's doing a lot of work on that, and we'll be inviting him back both before you as well as the commissioners in the future. But that's not quite ripe for conversation just yet.
I have a concern over that 80%. If that is taken, because if we're able to retain that, will that parks portion of the general fund be reduced by that amount so that basically it's a net zero gain? Or will we still get our same allotment from general fund? In addition, we get to retain 100% of our maintenance and operation. That's my concern, is that, yeah.
Yep, great point and question, Dawn. Appreciate that. That has not been fully clarified, but my interpretation of the comments from Commissioner Rolfes are that the intention of doing that is to help expand the operating budget of the Parks Department, not to basically make it a wash. So, I don't know if that's even a possibility at this point, but I would fight nail and tooth to not, have a reduction. That wouldn't make any sense to us. So it doesn't get us any further than where we're at currently. Okay. So events has two different accounts that it draws from. It has a general fund account, and then we, as you saw on the previous screen, we also utilize the 1501 account to help support maintenance and upkeep of those event facilities, of our athletic fields, as well as purchase needed equipment that help facilitate the operations of our events, such as the pipe and drape, the floor cleaners, et cetera, the electrical distribution, et cetera. So not quite as complex as the natural resources program, but the events program also has multiple funds that it draws from that helps together create that operational budget. And similarly, sorry, I forgot, I have a screen in between. This gets into those details. And in large part, this is a repeat of some of the stuff from the previous screens. But you'll see in 9508, the general fund component, this is where all of the events staff are funded from, our 9 FTEs, as well as the bulk of the expenses for the ongoing annual operations of the program come out of the general fund. And then only after that are we looking at the 1501 special revenue account to help supplement those expenses that we cannot afford out of the 9508 account. And those come in a variety of ways, whether it's additional equipment or, again, potentially increasing part-time staffing if we can't increase budget for extra help out of the general fund, but we have a need and we can afford it out of 1501. We may propose doing that in a budget cycle, though we've never done that before, but could potentially help us out. Dawn.
Those 9 FTEs for 9508, are they like operations and maintenance people, or where do people like our public relations kind of people come out?
So in the 9508, those 9, we have 4 maintenance workers who do all the event setup and on the ground work of all of our events, and they do the turnover of events in between. So all the cleanup, prep work, and then setup, and they flip a facility for a new event. We have an event specialist who helps coordinate all that work We have an event coordinator who does all the contracting work with the events. The people who put on the events are outside event sponsors. We have 2 office support staff who do all the reservations and the calendar work on our Rec Desk software program. And we have Alex Hardy, who supervises all of this, and she oversees all of that. And if I got my numbers right, that would have been 9 FTEs. And together, that team is the events operational team. And then there's 2 seasonal support staff in there that we hire for the busy summer season. Okay. Similar to events in our M&O program, we also have 2 different funding sources, the general fund and the 150 account that we can draw on for equipment purchases. We also utilize it for, and let me move on, for our athletic fields, maintenance and repairs to our facilities, etc. I've already kind of gone through some of this. Within our general fund here, we have 21 staff members who do the ongoing maintenance and operations of all of our parks and our recreation facilities. These staff are primarily focused on what I would consider our developed parks. So natural resources focuses on those open space, green space, natural areas. The 21 FTEs that make up M&O focus on playgrounds, picnic shelters, lawns, irrigation, parking lots, buildings, our building maintenance, and athletic fields, and those more constructed or man-made facilities. And so that is, and these are, the 21 FTEs are of varying classifications or levels. We have the M&O workers, we have lead positions, we have crew supervisors, and then we have Bree, who you met earlier, who is the program supervisor that manages the entire program in totality. And I have capital at the end, but before I move on to capital, you'll also notice there are other program areas I didn't touch on. So I didn't touch on admin. And the only reason is because admin only has 1 funding source, and that's the general fund. It does not have multiple sources, so there was kind of no reason to try and explain it. Planning also has 1 funding source. It's the general fund. So again, I didn't put it on the screen here. And then the capital, this is for the capital projects. So when we have a capital project, where are those funding sources that we have available to us to facilitate new ball fields, to facilitate land acquisition, to do playground development, or whatever. Linda, before I go on.
So just trying to get a handle on the overall understanding and kind of the division between the 21 FTEs that are in maintenance and operations, and then the 9 that are in events. Are the 4 people that you said were in maintenance and operations in events, are they basically buildings, so cleaning the restrooms and stocking this and that, and, getting the pavilion set up for tournaments, those kind of things? And the maintenance and operations staff that is under 1501, under
9508.
Okay. Are those basically outdoor parks and fields?
Yes. So the division is the support to the program operations. So within the 4 M&O workers that support the events operations, you are correct. They clean the facilities, they do the event setup, tables, chairs, bleachers, pipe and drape, they run the electrical distribution, they set up stages, etc. They also then when event is done, or they're doing ongoing event support during an event too. So they're checking in with the event host, making sure they have everything they need. If something goes awry, like we lose electricity down a vendor string, they come in and they're troubleshooting to figure out what's going on and make repairs to that as the event is happening. When the event is over, they come in and they help do the cleanup and put equipment back or prep the facility for a flip for the next event that's coming in. And they have to do cleanup and then reset it again for the next event that might be coming in the next weekend. And when they're not doing that, when there are breaks in between the event calendar, they also help out with ongoing landscaping and maintenance at the fairgrounds. So their kind of secondary duties is to help support the day-to-day duties of the M&O team. And so the parks maintenance team, those 21 FTEs, their primary focus is, not on event support, but it's on the daily support of, yes, park restrooms, pulling trash in parks, cleaning. They do the remodel, the picnic shelter cleaning and setup when those are reserved. They also do, because they're out in the field at various locations across the county, they also help prep the two community buildings, Island Lake and Long Lake, when those get rented, because we don't have enough event support staff to do those because of the distance. Event support is mostly focused at the fairgrounds, where our Parks M&O is out in the field. Those 21 FTEs are divided into 3 different regions. We have a north, south, and central. And within those regions, they provide the ongoing maintenance to, a whole bunch of different park locations on, each day. And those are during the summers, starting in April, it's a lot of lawn care, mowing lawns, taking care of the ball fields. They do twice annual, what we call field ops or maintenance to our athletic fields. They're doing the repairs to our facilities. If we have a water line break or an irrigation break, they're repairing it, and that type of thing. So slightly different, but they do share a job description so that we have the ability to be flexible and help support each other, help support the 2 different programs when needed. So there are times where we might be in a heightened event season and we have event staff who, hey, they get the right to take vacations or be sick too. And when those happens, we need to backfill those support positions, and we look to the Parks M&O staff to help backfill those to help support events, just like events help support parks maintenance when they have a break in their schedule. So it kind of, it moves a little bit back and forth. Does that help?
And who does the maintenance, or when there's maintenance within the big heritage parks?
So the big heritage parks are primarily live in there's a couple different things. The general open space or the natural areas within the heritage parks are our natural resources team. That is the intent. And so you will notice a vast imbalance of staffing there, where we have 3 coordinators. You've got Kevin dedicated to the forest stewardship program, and then you've got Irene supervising the 4. But the way that we have historically facilitated maintenance in the heritage parks, as well as not just those, but our other undeveloped open space parks, like Chico Salmon, like Erlin's Point, like Olympic View, is through volunteers. And so we don't have dedicated crews. We don't have the amount of FTEs that we, in all honesty, that we should have to help provide the on-the-ground maintenance that we need in those areas. And so In lieu of that, we look to utilize volunteer work parties and such to help facilitate some of those efforts.
A big gap in, growing all our heritage parks was a huge benefit to the community, but that's unfunded.
We're lagging behind as a department. We need to catch up with the kind of staffing that we need to support the system that we have. I give the county and the community great kudos for having the vision to go out and acquire these properties to preserve them for today and future generations. What we just need to do some catch-up work on identifying, a more sustainable way for maintaining them. We're doing the best that we can, but we continue to grow. We have another 706 acres coming into the park system, in the very near future. As I said, status quo budget and no new staffing. That does not align very well with the continual addition of park acreage.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so capital. We have three kind of primary funding sources that are available to facilitate our capital projects. We have the 382. Again, 382 is the fund, and then these are the different program areas within it. The Parks Capital is our primary fund, 3821, that we utilize for pretty much all of our park development capital projects, whether it's parking lots or playgrounds or, a huge facelift to a park or a new recreation facility, whatever it may be. Its primary funding source is REIT 2. The REIT 2 REIT stands for Real Estate Excise Tax. And within the state laws, there's REIT 1 and REIT 2, and they have different definitions for what those fundings coming into the county can be utilized for. The county is reserving REIT 1 funding. It can go towards recreation facilities as well as parks and other things. And it is being reserved for the coming improvements to the county's courthouse and the complex at Import Orchard. The REIT 2 also can go towards parks and improvements and trails and such, but cannot go towards recreation facilities. So that is one of the, at least in terms of our world, because it also funds roads and public works and other things it can go towards. But in terms of how parks can use it, that is a distinguishing factor or difference between what we can and cannot do between the two different REITs, and a challenge that I'll show you on a future slide here with regards to the fairgrounds. 3822 is a special account that was set up when I'm assuming back in 1819 maybe, when the county entered into the ILA agreement with the Public Facilities District and got funding to help support projects in at that point, the newly acquired Port Gamble Forest Heritage Park. Those projects were the framework, or previously called the master plan, the mountain bike ride park, the two parking lots, the Stottlemyre parking lot and trailhead, which is complete, and the future North Gateway parking lot and trailhead, which is in design and is targeted to be construction in the first half of 2025. There was also a component of that went to the feasibility, not the North Kitsap feasibility study, but the feasibility study within the north end of the park there, that was facilitated by Public Works for the Sound to Olympics Trail, and some dollars in there for construction of small segments of that. That is what the 3822 is for. So it is like the account will probably go away in the future because there's a finite amount of funds there, as well as projects. When those projects are done, really the fund doesn't need to exist, and we would just default back to 3821. The 1461 is park impact fees. And so the county collects park impact fees on new development that happens throughout the entire county. And these funds get dedicated to parks departments. The caveat here, so this would be like new housing developments and new commercial developments. And the intent is that the county would collect monies from these developments that would be earmarked to go back into providing parks and recreation facilities for a growing population, to ensure that we have a funding support coming in, so that we aren't just growing, and we have mandates by things like GMA and so forth that we can't meet because we just lack funding. This is a way to help bridge that gap. There is a caveat here that the funds in the park impact fees can only go towards new acquisition and new park development. By law, we cannot use it to go back into existing facilities to do maintenance, repairs, or improvements. So just one distinguishing item there. And then grants, and I show a dash line here because grants we don't always get, but we do look to utilize grants to help supplement the other funding sources that we have to help expand and stretch the public dollars that we get by increasing the project totals. This next screen defines some of this a little bit further, though really is just kind of a reiteration of what I just said. The unknown, the question mark in the middle of the screen there, I guess not in the middle, at the bottom, is the one I was referencing. Because REIT 2 does not allow for its funding to be used in the development, well, not the development, but really the repairs of recreation facilities. And the fairgrounds is in large part a huge recreation facility. We actually lack a capital a source to invest in the fairgrounds and event center. So there's an irony here that we have REIT 2 that we can invest in all of our parks lying outside of the fairgrounds. The fairgrounds is our most developed area. It is the one that is aging and needs some investment, and the one that we don't have an identified source of funding for. So we have a bit of a challenge here that we're aware of it. Commissioners are aware of it, and it is something that was brought up with the last group of commissioners too, and we continue to work through. But just drawing attention to this, that we do have a gap in terms of our funding sources for our park system and what our needs are. And so then this is just kind of the graphic display of the different accounts or the different funds that go into our capital projects program. The largest one by far is the 3821. It is our parks fund. We are not the only department that utilizes that for capital projects. Public Works also draws on it, but it has the greatest amount of flexibility as long as you're not paying any attention to the fairgrounds in terms of what it can provide and support the Parks Department for capital projects. And with that, that is my last slide. Before I stop sharing my screen, are there any questions that might involve me going back to a previous slide? Otherwise, I will stop sharing my screen.
I had a question. I think I don't quite know how to word it, but funding for all the new acquisitions that we're creating that you said we're kind of having trouble funding, isn't that what the original pros plan was talking about with park stewards and volunteers? Like utilizing them more than actually creating something in the budget for running parks?
So we do have a rather large and robust volunteer program that produces about 55,000 hours of volunteerism each year, but it still takes staff time to manage the volunteer program. Additionally, there are expenses and support that fall outside of what volunteers have the skill, the expertise, and the time to do as well. We have obligations to maintain our parks, to hire consultants to help do evaluations, and none of that is all. Well, I will say, let me flip that and say all of that requires funding and staff capacity to help facilitate those things. So yes, the volunteer program is huge, and it does help offset and support our lack of staffing, but it by no means, I would say, in a 1-to-1 ratio replaces it.
But weren't the stewards like supposed to be managing volunteers? Wasn't that originally part of the whole concept?
I don't have an answer for you. I can't speak to, the volunteer programs, far outdates me. I know, the Illahee stewardship has been around since pre-2003.
Right.
And I know some of the stewardship groups have been around since before the Parks Department even owned the properties.
And
So
that's kind of what I'm talking about. The stewardship groups as a whole, they were kind of like managing the parks before the park stepped in to manage. And it seems like, it's good to have some management, but I mean, that's why we have such a huge, diverse network of people in this county that were willing and able to do those tasks. And it just seems a shame that we're not using them to their full abilities is all.
I would contest that, Lisa. 55,000 hours, we are using volunteerism, and
yeah, that's volunteer. That's different. I'm talking about stewards versus volunteers, which are
stewards are a category of our volunteer program. They're a part of it, but we would not be doing the community justice by handing over parks to community-based volunteers for management, for decisions. There would be lack of consistency across the park system. I don't even know how liability and risk would be managed. I just don't. I have never seen that happen before, and I would be extremely hesitant to move in that direction.
Okay.
I had a comment just in reference to that I had learned about, that even though we may have volunteers that are skilled in certain areas, that we can't always use volunteers for types of jobs that, say, union workers would be hired with or something like that. Is that my understanding on that kind of, Alex, too?
There is. I think that when you get down to it, the answer is yes. We are using volunteers to do union-based work, and to date, the unions have been, I think, understanding of the fact that the county's finances isn't so flush that we can automatically just hire a bunch of people to do all of the union-based work. But there are limits to that as well. And so, I don't know. We have a good relationship with our unions. They support our staff really well. But I think we would be in a precarious, putting ourselves in a precarious place if we were trying to, replace, staff-based or union-based work with volunteers only. So
I
yeah,
also-
another, I wouldn't say like that's the whole reason, but it's certainly a layer of challenge onto the situation.
And I just wanted to also thank you, Alex, for putting this all together, because every time I hear it, I gain some new insight, and I know it takes a lot of time and preparation on your part. So thank you for the patience with all our questions too.
Oh, this is great. This is, I mean, yeah, it took a little bit to put together, but I think it's important. I want people to understand kind of, where we're at, how we're structured, how we function, where our challenging points are, in part so that, you can be advocates for us too, and you can understand it. And if you have to answer a question or something, you can, have some understanding of what it is. So I appreciate that. Linda, see your hands up.
Yeah, just a comment quick before I ask my question. When you mentioned 55,000 volunteer hours, and I know lots of us volunteer time and forget to enter it, but that's the equivalent of 26 FTEs. And when you look at the overall park staff and what you guys are trying to cover, 26 FTEs is not something you can go to the commissioners and say, oh yeah, please fund this. So it gives it's an eye-opening scale. But my question is, and it has been, since I've been involved, Alex, that the volunteers have been a huge part. This county has always relied extensively on volunteers. I remember years ago, like 15 years ago, the county being presenting down at the state on their volunteer programs because it was unusually high, I think, overall for counties. So my question kind of relates to the presentation you just gave and an update that you had in your report about policy and fee schedule update, and a question I received from people is that I understand that there is a survey out there on some of the events on proposed fee increases, and we had a general presentation on fee increases, and I knew at the time, I think at the time I said I thought it'd be poking the hornet's nest because it is always unpopular to raise fees and change fees and charge fees, frankly, because almost everybody that uses parks are nonprofits of some type. But I had gotten an email from somebody who has done events in Fort Gamble. And one of the reasons I asked a question is because it sounded like you're considering, and I know it's preliminary, raising fees for park events within the Heritage Park that are that there really isn't any staff involvement in, and that there would be two fees, one kind of an event fee and then a mileage fee. And it seemed like the mileage fee in particular would be, impacting bikes who go further than, runners. So I wasn't sure, are those fees as they're being developed, are they tied to staffing costs?
No.
When they're not tied to a building?
No, and our building costs are not tied to staffing costs either. I mean,
Okay.
as I commented earlier, we are not targeting a cost recovery rate for our fees associated with buildings or, in this example, our park related fees or fees related to events happening outside of the fairgrounds. The intent here specifically with like trail-based events, whether it's a run or a bike event or a walk or whatever it may be, is to capture the value of the impact to that recreation facility as well as to the using public that may be trying to visit that park as well. The setup of fees is, and of course, the more mileage of a park you're using, the greater of an impact that you're having. And so there was a way to scale up and scale down the cost for certain events. Same with the qualifier of, a cost based on your participation. The more participants you have, the more impact you're going to have. Therefore, the cost for those events, should be increased over smaller events. One other thing on here is that those are fees that we all recognize we don't have right now. Those don't exist because they weren't in the previous rendition of the Parks Department's event policies and fee structure. So we are creating those to reflect on the increased use of our parks, and not just Port Gamble, but this will also impact whaling days at Silverdale Waterfront. Currently, there's no fee for that. And they pay $25 for that event when that one takes over the entire park in its entirety. And so this isn't solely focused on Port Gamble, but it is attempted to provide a value to the impact that is happening on that, which also then allows us to retain 20% of those fees that would go into our 150 account that we can then draw on to do trail maintenance. So there's kind of a reciprocal cycle here in terms of impacts, related fees, and value going back into the park, just like we draw on the 150 accounts to maintain our buildings that also get used for events. So it's kind of following that same methodology. Does that help?
Yeah, so, particularly on the heritage parks where they're maintained by volunteers, when those same volunteers are involved in
Larry, thank you.
When those same volunteers are involved in the, so both prepping the trails or repairing the trails and running events, is there a way there could be some consideration on those fees? Because I have seen events run that, come in and are run by people who don't really give back. They expect it to be prepped. They expect to have somebody clean up after them. And usually volunteers do both and build the trails. So I'm just wondering if there could be, you're not trying to put you on the spot. And frankly, I have voted for fees and raising fees a lot in my experience. So I understand the cost, and you can't have parks without, or anything else without charging it. But it does seem that particularly on trail events, which there haven't been fees for, when somebody's out there maintaining those trails, it feels harsh to also get hit by a big fee when. So, not that I'm expecting an answer, but I wanted to raise that as a possibility.
No, it's fine. We've had the conversation internally. I'll provide you an answer. The short answer is yes. And then after this, I'll go to Larry and then Dawn. But short explanation is we do have some flexibility built into that if the intent of an event is to raise money to then either donate back to the Parks Department or to put back into the facility, it would then, we would negotiate, the offset of costs. Because you're already raising money to go back into the park. So we, at that point might not have a need for the fee associated with the event, because again, it's just it's cyclical at that point. So, but for events who are coming in to raise money for themselves or for their organization or their benefit, whatever it may be, those we would look to, utilize the new fee structure to the fullest of its extent, because there are impacts to our trails, there are impacts to our parking lots, there are impacts to the restrooms and the trash cans that are there, and the user experience as well. So I don't want that to get lost, but yeah, hope that helps. Larry?
Okay, Al, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Alex, I appreciate your presentation here and everything, and I appreciate a lot of the give and take we're hearing. what I'm starting to hear though is we're getting way far afield of a budget overview. And I'm looking at the clock on my computer, and I have to get some sleep tonight sometime before I go to my doctor's appointment tomorrow. And I'm sure everybody else has a life. So I would ask everybody, please, if you've got any more questions, distill them, and here you go, Alex. You need something in your inbox. Ship them over to Alex so he can answer. We can put together some more information on this and bind it over to the next meeting. Is everybody good with that? Little bobbleheads, please.
Okay, thanks, Larry.
Cool. Hey, that's what I get the big bucks for. I'll take my hand down now. Okay, the next thing we have on the list, by the way, is, wow, director's report. Can you get it done in 3 minutes?
How about I don't touch on anything, and if you have questions with any of the items that I provided in writing, I'm happy to touch on them. But for the sake of time, I'll kind of let it go unless you have questions, so that we can move along as we are teetering on 8 o'clock here.
Have you received the pros plan draft? Or are you still waiting?
We're still waiting.
Sorry.
No, it's yeah. Still waiting. We had a bit of a heart-to-heart meeting with the consultants. And this was last week. I am more optimistic that I am hoping to get it by the end of the week. I have been in touch with the consultant every single day this week, working through various aspects, but I still don't have anything just yet. So things are moving. They seem to have pulled together more resources for our project. Again, I'm more optimistic, but nothing just yet.
All righty then. Yeah, I know that question is kind of like, would you rather have a root canal or? Okay, so subcommittee reports. Do we have any? Says none here.
We haven't pulled the subcommittees together, but we do have a couple that are being planned out. One for review of the policy and fee updates. And then, like I mentioned earlier, we'll be pulling the subcommittee back together probably in a couple weeks-ish, mid-August, for a budget again. But nothing's happened in the last month.
Okay, I appreciate that. So now we go to district representative reports. Any old business from district rep people?
Port Gamble Forest Heritage Park stewards met, working on a work plan. There's been a change to the work plan structure for this year, where really the focus is not on real long-term projects. It's more on projects that can be accomplished in 2025 during work parties. There's a little bit of concern from people about, the long-term overview, high-level policy type issues. The other thing is that the restoration committee is moving forward with a project that'll be implemented at the end of the year, which is an Evan Stoll restoration demonstration garden that would show just native plants and bringing them back into the areas that were clear cut. That was funded by the North Kitsap Trails Association in Evan Stoll's memory.
All right, thank you very much. Any others? Anybody else? Well, hearing nothing else, how about any new business? Dang, somebody else just looked at their clock. Okay, we're down to the public comments again. Are there any public comments waiting for us?
Yes, we have a hand raised. Joe Lubisher, I am now allowing you to talk. Go ahead.
Good evening, Alex. Good evening, board. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I've got a number of comments. I'll try to rush through them. So number one is on the park impact fees. Given that we've recently, in recent years, done a lot of acquisitions, maybe it's time to change that law so that you can use the funds as they're needed. And in relation to that, have you factored in the fact that there's about 1,000 units, I think, order of magnitude at Port Gamble Town and Arborwood, for which you're not going to receive impact fees? Okay, that was my number one. Number two, funding Irene and Kevin out of the forestry program is inherently unstable. So I would suggest the board take a look at that. It's not a good long-term situation. And related to that, who is paying the coordinators? You listed 3 people, 3 FTEs in the natural resource. You have 5. So could you straighten that out, please? My third point, oh gosh, we're talking evergreen huckleberry, not red huckleberry earlier. So the framework called out $400,000 to $600,000 a year for kind of basic forestry maintenance at Port Gamble. Is that money being put in? Because if it isn't, we need to start working that in, I think. It's a huge effort. And even if it's not specifically dollared this year, we need to have a placeholder for it. I would suggest you do that. And number 4, in regard to funding, I think there's a potential for mining the community and stewardship groups for support of parks funding, not just in general dollars, but for example, for the wildlife ecologist or some other specific things, specific examples we can take before the commissioners. The problem with that is it's going to require a more sophisticated understanding of stewardship groups. So Alex, I think the reliance on hours, as a metric is only part of the picture. I know that we have lost stewards, and I know that there are models for working with, experienced, talented seniors like at Teton National Park and Teton National Forest. So I would agree with Lisa that a more sophisticated look at how stewardship groups operate, how they can contribute, and indeed how they can manage. I use Newberry Hill Heritage Park as an example. They've done a tremendous amount of engineering and restoration, and that all came out, to the best of my knowledge, that all came out of the stewardship group. I know Arno worked with them on the thinning, but the stewardship group was largely the responsible party, is my understanding there. So thank you, and I hope you find a way to get back and answer those questions I asked.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Real quick, the 3 FTEs are Sierra, Aaron, and Victoria. Those are the 3 natural resource coordinators. I don't, if you're thinking of 2 others, I'm not sure who they are.
Well, Irene and Kevin.
Oh, they're not coordinators. They are FTEs in the natural resource program, but they're different positions. But
okay, so their money, their funding, they're getting paid with the logging. How are the coordinators getting paid?
General fund.
Thank you.
Yep.
Do we have any other public comments in the wings?
There are no hands raised in the public comments.
Well,
To adjourn.
we have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second? Okay, Amy, seconds. Okay, thank you very much. All in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. All right, opposed? Well, thank you very much for your time. Alex, thank you for all the work that you put into that briefing. I've still got it archived on my computer. I will be digging back through it again, just to try to keep an old guy's mind straight. With that, we stand adjourned. Thank everybody for your time. Now, you may resume your normal lives. We'll see you next month.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Bye.